lasso, everything that I know says I gotta go, tired of going solo. But I'm never gonna go there again. This is what it is, this is who I am, this is where I finally take my stand. I didn't want to fall, but I don't have to crawl. I'm not the one with two star hands, giving him the best of everything that's left of the life inside this man. I've been born again.
Yes. Hello, everyone. On a Saturday or Sunday or whenever you're viewing or getting to hear this, Eddie Huff, Dave Van, and our special guest, maybe the most hated man in Tulsa, Oklahoma right now, unless it's me. I'm sorry, Kevin, you may be the second most disliked person in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I have to tell you this. By the way, okay, so we got Kevin Adams with us, who just got through with a trial, which we will get to here in a few moments. And he was the defense attorney on a very high-profile case, a murder trial, which we will get into. But, Kevin, I have to tell you this, okay? I have done 2 Facebook posts in the last couple of months, and these have drawn the ire of many people. One was regarding worship. I happened to be in church, and the lady was worshiping with a coffee cup. It was a mug.
She was like...
Yeah, she has a coffee mug in one hand, and this was worship. And in my opinion...
Put the coffee down.
Could you not tarry for 1 hour? Yeah. Could you not tarry for 15 minutes with your coffee cup to raise 2 hands to worship? But no, I was the bad person. Yeah. But believe it or not, I stepped in it even worse. I committed a greater offense. Yeah. This time, I questioned women who bottle fed their babies.
Oh.
Oh, you understand.
He advocated for nursing. How primitive.
Yes. Now,
she said the same thing. She said there wouldn't be a baby food shortage if these women would just breastfeed.
Well, what? No, you don't want to join my, you're hated enough, brother. You're hated enough. You don't want to join that club.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal. All I said was maybe one of the good sides of the baby formula shortage is that women will start breastfeeding again. Okay, that's all I said. I didn't attack anybody that uses formula. I didn't say you're a bad mother. I didn't say you're a bad woman. You're less. I didn't say anything. I just said maybe one of the good side or a good side to a baby formula shortage is women will start and my goodness, you would have thought that
you never know. When you trigger a woman's insecurities, hell have no fear.
Oh my goodness. So
I will tell you the quickest way to make somebody mad or angry and to get a reaction out of them is to show them something about themselves that they do not like.
Yes. Bingo!
And that's a cross-examination trick.
Well said.
That all I'm trying to do sometimes is just show them something about themselves they don't like, and then they twist off in front of the jury, and the jurors look at them and say, well, I don't know if I believe that guy. Yeah. And it only works because the jurors are a bunch of hypocrites, too.
See, now he's got jurors mad at him. Yeah. How to lose a case, Kevin.
Well, most people are hypocrites.
I know it.
Including myself, you know.
Honestly, if we're honest, I think most of us are. That is true. So anyway, Kevin, we just got through a very high-profile case for Tulsa. Anyway, the case. Do you want to go back over? Basically, you were defending
David Ware.
And what was, just run through the case again, just real briefly, so I don't mess up any details. I've messed up enough on certain things, so I don't want to get anything wrong. So the details of the case, what happened, and from start to finish.
David Ware got pulled over on the early morning hours of June the 29th of 2020. He got pulled over there on 21st Street, almost to a memorial, a little east of Memorial, on 89th East Avenue, by Officer Zarkishan, who was a relatively new officer, had been out on his own about 6 weeks. Officer Zarkishan had backup, showed up with Sergeant Craig Johnson. Officer Zarkishan lied to Craig Johnson about why he pulled David Ware over. And then he also, David Ware couldn't find his driver's license, but he had a license, and he couldn't find his current insurance verification, but he had insurance, and they can pull that up on the cars. And then Officer Zarkishan testified during the trial that he had spoken to Sergeant Johnson, and Sergeant Johnson had told him that day that he needed to be more proactive and that he needed to find some people, at least one person a day, that they could take an intelligence report on that they needed to watch. And
this is undisputed.
This is what he testified to.
Okay.
That's called a quota.
Yeah, at trial. Well, what happened is it appears to me, or it certainly seems like David Ware was that person that day, because he not only asking for his phone number, which I typically only ask for my phone number when I get a ticket, though there is a space for it on the ticket, but he also asked him what the name of his apartment complex was, and there is no space for that on the ticket. So I think it was pretty clear. Zarkishan, and he said this is all he remembers is this conversation he had with Johnson. So anyway, it starts this dispute because they want David Ware to get out of the car because they're going to tow it. Okay, and they're trying to use the tag, even though you got to have 90 days before they can tow it, and they're trying to use the insurance as an excuse. But he had valid insurance, and he gave him a receipt where he paid for the insurance, and he also gave him the title, which has the VIN, and the statute says that they shall run the VIN, and it will show the insurance. And he never, I don't believe he did any of that. I think it's pretty clear from evidence he did not do any of that. So they come up to David Ware and they want him to get out of the car, because the first thing Zarkishan said when he got out of the car to Johnson is, I'm probably going to end up towing it. And I think that Zarkishan was trying to be proactive, okay? And I don't think we should have our officers out there trying to be proactive in that manner of making reports to the government to watch people.
Especially the point of having a quota put on them.
Yeah,
one a day. Yeah.
Whether you're suspicious
and it's 3 in the morning,
yeah.
So you're the first one of the day.
Yeah. Well, so what happened is the argument was over the towing of the car. 9 times they said, you have to get out, we're going to tow it, They're arguing back and forth about towing it. 9 times towing was mentioned in this conversation.
And he was not under arrest.
He was not under arrest. The only time arrest was mentioned was when Sergeant Johnson said to him, I could arrest you for obstruction because he refused to get out of the car so they could tow it.
Yeah.
You know. And that's what the argument was about. Well, it escalated. They tased David Ware twice. They maced him 3 different times.
Kicked him in the groin
twice. And at one time he actually gets out of the car and they started yelling, get on the effing ground. And he's like, why, man? This is like a month after George Floyd. And so eventually David Ware had a gun in the car. He had drugs in the car. Eventually David Ware went for his gun and shot Officers Zarkishan and Sergeant Johnson, killed Sergeant Johnson, ran away screaming, okay, and he got, arrested. It was obvious who he was. He didn't take the car or anything, his wallet was left there.
Was he high at the time?
I think David Ware during that time period of his life was using drugs almost all the time. But I don't know that the drugs necessarily had any effect of it, because when somebody is that much of an addict, he was an opioid addict, okay? And he had Suboxone they found in his house, which what happens is when these people get very addicted to opioids and they'll start off on the hydrocodone stuff, and then a lot of times they'll end up with heroin because it's the same drug. And David, you seem to know a lot about heroin. When you were shaking your head, you seem to know a lot about this. I don't know how.
I train law enforcement on mental health issues, and a lot of times those people are self-medicating.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to get calm from their anxieties.
Yeah, so they have to trade back and forth in order to get, one of them will have a source and the other one doesn't. They get physically ill if they don't have it. So anyway, so I think he was always using drugs during that time period because he was addicted, but I don't think it really had much to do with what happened there.
He was driving, other than making a bad right turn into the middle lane, but everybody in Tulsa does that, it seems.
Yeah.
Other than that, that was the only thing they had to pull him over, right?
Yeah.
Well, the tag.
Well, he didn't see the tag until after he got up there close enough to see it.
Yeah.
And the other thing about the tag is this is during COVID. The tag was actually a little over 30 days past due. Zarkis Shin kept saying to Johnson it's 60 days. No, it's 30 days. It's 60 days since he bought the car, but it's 30 days past due, a little over 30 days past due, and you can't tow it until it's 90. And that was all in the case, in the evidence. The jury was instructed about their policy. The TPD policy was in there, all of that.
But there's also a trump card over that, which was a governor's emergency order. Did that flush out in court?
That really didn't come up because it really wasn't even an issue because you couldn't tow it for 90 days. You couldn't tow it for 90 days.
Regardless,
Yeah.
right.
Even if it had been a year, they couldn't tow it during this emergency executive order.
Right, but what he's saying, that didn't even come to play because it had not been 90 days, which is the normal.
So there should be no towing.
Right.
There should have been no towing. And
Period.
he's refusing to get out of the car, refusing to tow it. Anyway, push comes to shove. At a point, David becomes in fear for his life, is what he testified to, and I believe him. And he went for a gun, which he wasn't supposed to have because he had a felony conviction, and he shot both of them. He got charged. We proceeded to a jury trial. Wanted to argue self-defense. Okay, to the jury. The judge refused to give us self-defense instruction. There's 4 elements to homicide. The second one is the death is unlawful. That's the element that the self-defense would come in under. But you can always argue intent because we punish on intent. And so basically it forced me to argue that he didn't have the deliberate intent to take human life, even though the jurors sent out a note asking what's the definition of unlawful, of the death being unlawful, and the judge wouldn't give them any more instructions. And I think that's a big issue, is a refusal to give the self-defense instruction. Also refused to give a lesser included offense of manslaughter. And by the way, not to be even more hated than I already am, Betty Shelby, in the Betty Shelby case, they charged her with manslaughter. She shot an unarmed man that wasn't within arm's reach of her, okay? And the state did not object to her having a self-defense instruction. And all I'm saying as far as self-defense instruction is, does the jury have the option of arguing whether or not, of considering whether or not the person is acting in self-defense or not in self-defense in fear for their life? And then the government has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they were not. And that's one of the big issues on the case. David was convicted. We went into the second, there's actually 3 stages there because of the other convictions. But in the sentencing stage, with the death penalty part of it, he was the jury recommended a sentence of death, and that's what the judge gave him, and now it's on appeal.
Okay, now that's something I wanted to get to too. Somehow, 2 of the jurors were dismissed.
Yeah, the whole look. In the first 75 jurors, there was 1 black male. Okay, which is very statistically unlikely. Okay, and I didn't raise it in my propositions of error that I advise the appellate attorneys of what they may want to raise. I put in there they may want to criticize me for not raising it. And looking back on it, I wish I would have raised it. But I don't feel like it was a fair cross-section to begin with. But throughout the entire jury selection, my belief is, and I put this in my propositions of error, is that the state exercised its challenges in a racially discriminatory manner, which they typically do. Mm-hmm. Okay, and they try to get rid of certain jurors. These 2 jurors, especially males, in this case, they're especially going after the male minority. Okay. And in this particular case, after we presented our case on the sentencing phase, there were 2 jurors, both of them minorities, 1 male, 1 female, who said there was, and the judge would never let them say which option they couldn't consider, but they both said there's 1 option I can no longer consider. It was after the close of all the evidence. And they removed those 2 jurors.
How can you remove them at that stage?
I don't think you can.
That's jury tampering to me.
We won. Okay, you got to have all 12. We won. Okay, the way I look at it, I not only got one, I got a backup. I got the one juror, my holdout's got a friend. Okay, I like my holdout to have a friend if there's a holdout. And part of what you're doing on these cases is you're picking a jury. This is a weird jury that I'm trying to pick, okay? Because normally on a death penalty case, I'm just trying to pick a jury that won't kill my guy or gal, okay? But because I'm going for self-defense, you got kind of a different formula for your jury. So if I get a bunch of jurors that are very offended about killing people, they're going to be offended about my client killing somebody. Okay, so I got to pick jurors that one says, all right, under certain circumstances, some people need to be shot. Okay, some that aren't so offended about death that they won't say that it's self-defense, but at the same time, I'm trying to get some jurors on there that if they convict my guy death, they won't kill my guy. I kick my guy murder, they won't kill my guy.
But I've got a very basic question here. In order for it to be first-degree murder, it has to be malicious forethought, doesn't it?
Malice and forethought.
And how long had he been planning this murder?
Well, the law in Oklahoma, and here's what a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people, you'll hear them talk about first-degree murder, and there's different ways to commit first-degree murder, but they'll talk about like premeditated murder. Okay, yeah. It's not premeditated. We have malice of forethought, and the law is that malice and forethought can be formed in an instance. What we call first-degree murder. Malice and forethought is just the deliberate intent to take human life.
Okay, how does it distinguish from second degree? I thought second would be the height of passion in the moment.
No, that would be manslaughter. Okay?
Exactly. Either we have first degree or we have manslaughter is what it sounds like. Well,
the thing is what, in my opinion, what we call first degree murder in Oklahoma would be second degree murder in a lot of states. Okay, I mean, you can get in a bar fight, never seen a guy before in your life, and and you guys get in a bar fight, and let's say, spit in your face or grab your wife's rear end or something, and you lost and you stab him with a broken beer bottle, and that can be considered first-degree murder in Oklahoma. And I think there's a difference, and there should be a difference legally between a guy that hides in the bushes, okay, and waits for somebody to come home that he's hated for years, he's been planning this murder for years, and a guy that just, encounters somebody and things go bad. David, he was in a bad state at the time, and David's a Christian. A lot of people are very judgmental. They don't understand that. Of course, he's the same types of people that are posting online that I'm not a Christian for defending the guy. I hate to tell you, Jesus wouldn't have been a prosecutor. He'd have been a defense attorney.
Yeah.
But the thing is that David, his best friend since he was 14 or 15 years old, had just committed suicide the week before. His girlfriend had just left him, and the mother of his child had just left him like 2 days before. He's locked up in COVID. His boss had died like 3 or 4 months before, his boss for a long time, so he was drawing unemployment. He wasn't in the best state of mind to begin with.
Didn't he have a good night at the casino, though?
Yeah, what had happened is he hit a $2,400 jackpot at the casino, and then he also had won some money that was on the ticket that he cashed out on the ticket. So he'd actually he went with $600. He actually came back with like $4,000.
Okay, so if he had been homicidal, suicidal, this winning that night at the casino would have been a little bit therapeutic. Life ain't so bad, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't that mindset, even though he's had a rough last few months.
Yeah. I mean, he'd had a rough time, but David, he was adopted by his grandmother. Okay,
that tells me something.
And his mother met his father. Okay, at an arcade in late November of 1986 after a David Lee Roth concert, okay? And their relationship lasted to the first part of the year. But his grandmother Betty Jane was her name. She was actually in France attending seminary or whatever schools required to become a nun. And then when she got word that her mother was sick, she had to return to Ocean Springs, Mississippi to run her mom's bar and burger joint. Okay.
Leave the convent to run a bar. Okay.
And
This is like a movie.
yeah, and then her mother, and so then David's mother had him right before her senior year when she got pregnant when she was 16, had him when she was 17, and so the grandmother adopted him, and she always took him to church. They're Catholic,
right?
And they we were Baptists. We were growing up as Baptists, so we go to Sunday school. But they have a class after church, like catechism. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she would make sure he's always there. But then the mother got hooked up with this crack addict that is in prison for double homicide. A guy named Jimmy Dahl is in prison for double homicide in Mississippi, and he was very abusive towards David's mother and towards David. When the grandmother died, David went to live with his mom full time and Jimmy Dahl. And then he used to beat David's mother. And there was one night, like, he chased her out of the house there in Mississippi, and chased her down the street, and she climbed up a tree and slept in the tree all night. And apparently he couldn't climb trees. And that's before he got convicted of the double homicide. When the family, when his grandfather found out what was going on in the house, his grandfather took him out of the house, and he came to Tulsa and got off the plane when he was 14 years old, and that's when he started living with his father. And his father had a girlfriend that was about 6 years older than David at the time that he ended up marrying. She was like 21. And so David, it was kind of an outcast, and had a group of outcast friends that he hung out with, and was kind of adopted by one of them, one family, and became very close with him.
Something that I think people never consider, I know I never have. This is probably the closest I've ever come to someone that has been involved in a case like this. What is his state since the conviction, since the sentencing? Have you spoken to David since then?
Yes.
How is he taking it? I mean, what's running through his mind right now?
Well, I haven't had a chance to speak to him since the sentencing because it just happened yesterday.
Oh, I thought it was earlier in the week. Okay.
Yeah, but the day after he was convicted, I went to a men's breakfast at God's Shining Light Church, and the pastor there, Dixie Pebworth, who used to be in prison himself, had said something to me, and Dixie testified in the trial. This wasn't planned, and Dixie said he'd like to get in to see David to give him some hope. And what had happened in David's case, it was just remarkable to me, is after David got arrested and the whole world is lining up against him, and everybody's calling for his death and calling for his blood, and at that time, this is before I got involved, he was the most hated man in Tulsa. Some woman that he didn't even know, some woman of faith, spent her own money, and she bought David a Bible, and she mailed it to David at the jail. And as he laid in that cell and those drugs drained out of his body, he laid there, and that Bible laid there too, but eventually he opened it back up. And he opened it up and started reading it, and he connected with the faith that he had from his grandmother. And this was one of the things I talked about in the closing argument, is two women of faith that had a great effect. One that was his adopted mother and natural grandmother, and the other one was some woman he doesn't even know. We still to this day don't know who the woman was. And so David's a man, and like I said, and I've been talking to him all these years, and for a couple of years, so I know of his faith, and we've had lots of conversations about faith. And Dixie wanted to go see him, so we showed up to the jail. And the guy at the front desk said, well, they put him on suicide watch, not because of anything he did, just their policy. And the guy at the front desk said, well, normally I can't even get a lawyer back there for suicide. And then Dixie's credentials had expired prior to COVID for that jail. He goes to prisons mainly. He does prison ministry. 15, 20 minutes later, though, we're both back there talking to David. and he had a really good conversation with David and prayed and everything with David, and I was able to get the judge allowed, even though it wasn't notice and stuff wasn't given, he allowed Dixie to testify to the jury in a limited role about David and his faith, because I think that's a mitigating factor, because God uses broken people.
I want to ask something on right now. We're the beginning of the appeals process. Mm-hmm. And to put it simply, the appeal process somewhat putting the judge in the court trial on trial. Mm-hmm. And knowing my limited knowledge of the temperament of Judge Bill LaFortune here, mm-hmm. who's used to be a DA, used to be a mayor, mm-hmm. now it's a judge. I question some things about how it's done. So you're going to create more problems for yourself. Okay. Could you just give me a bullet point list of the things you think are problematic with this?
Well, I mean, I filed, and it's online if anybody wanted to see it. I filed this advisory propositions of error, and it's public file, and I went through, and it's several pages. I don't know if I have time for me to fully explain all of it. I've been attached some exhibits there. But it explains all the different issues that I think are there. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest issues has nothing to do with Judge LaFortune. And what the issue that I'm frankly the most excited about is the conflict death penalty pay. The system that Oklahoma has, they haven't raised the pay in 30 years. Yeah,
because you're stacking the deck against the defendant.
Well, how does that, though, mess with, I mean, because honestly, if that's an issue, you probably have thousands of people that they would have to go back. So I honestly don't see that as a big chance of overturning anything. Well, personally, I mean,
in federal court though, I got $20,000.
Okay, all right. So if it's in federal court, so let's say federal court in Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, Missouri, New Mexico, okay, Texas. All right, let's just take the states around us. Are there rates for criminal defense attorneys, or in your case,
public defender?
Right. In your case, the public defender. Are their rates different from Oklahoma's?
Yes, and here's the thing. I'm not talking about everybody on the death penalty case. What I'm talking about is on conflict death penalty case. First chair gets $20,000. Second chair gets $5,000. Okay. And the thing is,
now with that $20,000, you have to pay for all the research, all the expenses. That's not your just plain salary. In other words, you don't get expenses on top of that, right?
Well, I don't have to pay for the expert witnesses.
Right.
Okay, but I don't get expenses on top of that.
But your billable hours are capped $20,000.
Yeah, and basically that $20,000 is expense money. Okay, this case cost me tens of thousands of dollars.
That's what I'm trying to say, because there are people out there say, "Oh, well, he's just a greedy SOB. Yeah. He wants to get $100,000. He just wants to get paid himself, and at taxpayer expense."
Or we could say, "All right, Mr. DA, you're under a $20,000 cap for your whole department. Well, we'll $25,000 because you have a second attorney."
Well, look, the best solution to this is to get rid of the conflict death penalty pay. Okay, yeah. And you have an OIDS division in Norman. You have an OIDS division in Sapulpa. You have a public defender's office in Tulsa, and you have a public defender's office in Oklahoma City. The best thing is just to use those 4 branches, okay, as conflict counsel for each people.
What's OIDS?
Oklahoma Indigent Defense System.
Gotcha.
Okay, and fund it through the legislature and get rid of the private capital conflict pay. That's the problem. Okay, and it would be a lot simpler, and the statute would allow for it, quite frankly. It would just be a lot simpler. It would be a lot simpler to do it that way, and it would get better representation. You understand, the Court of Criminal Appeals and these federal courts, they have to deal with all of these problems because of our pay structure set up. They haven't raised it in 30 years. There is in 2003, the United States Supreme Court cited the ABA guidelines to the appointment of death penalty counsel in a case called Wiggins. And those ABA guidelines say that there should be no cap on the fee. It creates a conflict of interest between me and my client. I have to turn away stuff, turn away business so that I can focus on his case. But I also have a family, a family to support. So your client's ability to avoid the death penalty depends upon the lawyer's willingness to suffer financial ruin.
Yeah. Okay. And then you add to that the fact that the money that it's being funded with is coming out of the judge's retirement pensions.
Well, not retirement. It's coming out of the same fund that funds the judge's retirement pension.
Yeah. The net result's still the same.
Well, and it's a conflict of interest. Okay. And what's exciting about this case, I mean, I hate that the verdict. I didn't. I did everything I could to avoid the verdict, but I'll tell you, I'm excited about the appeal.
Sure.
Because there was a guy named Patrick Dwayne Murphy, and he got convicted and got the death sentence out of McIntosh County. Rob Barris prosecuted it. In fact, Patrick Murphy outlived Rob Barris, as frequently happens. But anyway, and his case is the one that the 10th Circuit granted the issue that is now known as McGirt on.
Oh, my goodness. How about that?
Okay, and it was a death case. Mm-hmm. And these cases get a lot of, they get close looks. And so you can make some big changes with these cases if you got the right record. And honestly, I think David's got the right record. I expect this case to get reversed. I hope it gets reversed on the conflict pay issue. There's a recording in that record, okay, of a former district judge that said that when he was at a state judicial conference, that the guy from the state that does the judicial retirement told all of those judges there not to be canceling court fund assessments because it affected their retirement. And at the time that he said it, the presiding judge of the Oklahoma Supreme Court was sitting right there. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's in the record. I put it in the record. There's a lot of landmines in that record. And right. There's some deep constitutional issues. Now, you get this over into federal court where they pay $155 an hour for non-death work. Mm-hmm. Okay, on their CJA panel, or they pay $200 an hour for death work, okay, for death penalty work. Man, I don't think those judges over there are going to look too kindly upon the way Oklahoma's doing it.
Well, I was listening on KRMG last night on the way, and they were even discussing this case and your appeal, mm-hmm. and the things that are in this. One of them being your assistant on their case, the first one that you had to let go, and then the fact that he was texting someone else and just distracted and things like this. They even brought it up on the radio. I mean, they were even talking about it on KRMG, how, so I mean, it's out there. I mean, people know now what's going on. So if nothing else, this has really brought attention to some of the things that are going on. And so I'm sure that a lot of people are squirming probably currently about what's happening.
They use the death penalty to kill poor people. Mm-hmm. Okay. When's the last time they even sought the death penalty against a rich man? Mm-hmm. Okay. That's what they do. They kill poor people. They kill primarily minorities, and David is a quarter Hispanic. Mm-hmm. Even though they try to act like he's not. His grandfather, David testified when I asked him. He said, "I'm a quarter Mexican." Okay. And his grandfather is obviously 100% Mexican and looks very Mexican to the extent that I was asking him if he cooks because I like Mexican food, And I was hoping I could score me some tacos or some burritos or something. I mean, this is what I'm talking to him on the break. I said,
stepping in it.
Well, what I want to ask is, when I talked about appeal, you alluded to federal court. Now, obviously, you're going to go to the state court of criminal appeals, but you haven't shut out the option of also taking this to federal.
I can't do the appeal, which I'm disappointed in, because you have to be able to criticize me. Okay?
Yeah.
If you look at the advisory propositions of error, I put in things in there they criticize my co-counsel for, the judge, but I also put in there propositions of error where you could say that lead counsel was ineffective for some of the things that I did.
Like the jury selection thing. Now you're saying, yeah, I probably should have brought that up.
I probably should have brought that up. I probably should have investigated the second chair more than I did.
So who is going to do the appeal? I mean,
Well,
could it be that nobody takes it up and it just dies?
No, the Oklahoma Indigent Defense System will do the appeal. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a very well
Okay,
established
is the Oklahoma Indigent?
defense system.
Indigent. Okay, I just wanted. Okay.
Yeah, and they will do the appeal through the state court process.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not reversed by then, well, first it will go to the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals, and they'll have the first chance to make a decision. If that's denied, then they do a petition for writ of certiorari to the United States Supreme Court. That could be granted by the Supreme Court. In this case, it's got some good issues. A lot of other cases end up at the Supreme Court. If they deny cert, what they call certiorari, then it will come back and go through the state post-conviction relief process where they can put things into the record that otherwise wasn't into the record, okay, to raise issues. If that's denied there, then it goes back to the Court of Criminal Appeals. They have another shot there. If they deny, then they go back to the United States Supreme Court. Then once that process is done, then they can go into federal habeas, okay, where it's a state prisoner challenging their conviction in federal habeas. Once they go through federal habeas and the district court, the Northern District of Oklahoma, if they were to lose there, it would go to the 10th Circuit, and then you would have another shot at the Supreme Court. And then,
By that time, David has died of old age.
well,
And you're gone. And I'm
Like
gone.
20 years is common, right?
yeah, me and Rob Nye, I don't know if you remember Rob representing McVeigh in the Oklahoma City bombing case. He was there when he was executed. Me and Rob Nye defended a case back in 2005. Our client did not receive the death penalty, but his father did. His father's still alive.
Yeah.
That was 17 years ago.
Yeah. So 20 years is common for this to go around in the courts. Or less than that if they're successful in an appeal.
Yeah.
Okay. But
About 50% reversal rate on death cases.
Okay, I'm going to change gears a little bit. Okay, because I know we have viewers, we have listeners that are going to think you're just a terrible person. As we've already established, most hated person in Tulsa,
Yeah.
and maybe beyond. You're the scum of the earth because you defend scumbags, as the mayor called you, or called David at least, the scum of the earth.
Yeah.
So you're defending the scum of the earth, so you must be beneath scum of the earth, obviously. So I want to give you an opportunity to tell us why you have chosen to defend people that, or let's take Timothy McVeigh. Okay, you didn't. Let's just make clear he did not defend Timothy McVeigh. Okay,
but he knows the guy.
he knows
He's
the
worked
guy who
with
did.
the guys who
Yeah.
did.
Okay, but so you have defended David Ware and other murder suspects. Okay, what causes you? What led you to get into this line of law? You could be a plaintiff, an ambulance chaser, many types of law, corporate law and everything, but you chose to go into criminal defense. And in criminal defense, this is part of criminal defense, right? So tell us what chose you to do that and why you take these type of cases.
Well, growing up, I mean, I come from a poor family, poor background. My grandfather was a sharecropper. Both grandfathers were born sharecroppers. One of them maintained being one. And my father worked in a steel mill. I'm the first in my family to go to college. And my mother used to take me to church when I was a kid. And when I was about 12 years old, I used to drive the Sunday school teacher nuts, asking questions. And they called me the great questioner. I don't think it's because I asked great questions. I just questioned greatly. And one day, out of frustration, she looked at me and she said, "You would make a good lawyer." Well, the only lawyer that I could see on TV was Perry Mason. So I started watching Perry Mason at my grandma's house during the summer, and that's what got in my head that I could be a lawyer. If the Sunday school teacher told me I could, I guess I could. So I'd always wanted to be a criminal defense attorney. That's the only thing I thought about as far as being a lawyer. So as far as why I chose that, that's why. But I will say this, and I told the jury this. I'm proud to have represented David Ware. And I love the guy, okay? And I consider him to be a brother, okay? And I'm proud to stand in the gap for David Ware and try to hold everybody back. I wish I wasn't, I wish I would have been able to do so, okay? But, I'll tell you another thing too, since we're being controversial. If I had to pick somebody to be in a foxhole with, out of everybody that had been in that courtroom, I'd have picked David Ware. Okay, because push comes to shove, and I know David Ware would stand up and fight.
Yeah.
And, but I'm in the Constitution. Let me just come out and say that. I'm in the Constitution. Okay? The prosecutor is not. Okay? State court judges are not. State court law enforcement is not. Okay? Deputy sheriffs are not. But I'm in the Constitution. If you're looking for me, it's in the Sixth Amendment. Okay, and you can read the Sixth Amendment and talk about the right to counsel. That's me. Okay, now I might not have been exactly what the Founding Fathers had in mind. Okay, but they had somebody like me in mind that's willing to stand up and fight for somebody. So just from a governmental sense, you know, I'm proud to do it. And these people act like I'm obstructing the system. No, the system has to have me.
It's the adversarial.
Yeah, it doesn't have to have a prosecutor. People could prosecute. You know, people could prosecute their own cases if they were victims or something like that. It doesn't have to have a professional prosecutor, but it has to have a professional defense attorney. And without me and people like me, okay, your liberty is going to be gone.
Yeah.
And so many of these people wrap themselves in a flag and snuggle with the Constitution, and they think that they're a fine American, all right, because they got a sticker on the back of their truck or something, you know, and they stand for the flag, you know, when they do the national anthem. And I just have to tell you, if you guys would take a break and unroll that Constitution that you're snuggling with and actually read it, you would realize that the Constitution is there to protect you from the government. The Constitution's not to protect you from some guy breaking into your house, okay? That's what the Second Amendment is for, okay? But the Constitution is there to protect you from the government, okay? That's what the Bill of Rights is there. And the brilliance of the Constitution is the separation of powers. People don't understand the Constitution. They don't understand our republic. They don't understand our system of government. And it's like, I divide conservatives into three areas, okay? You have the country club conservatives, like, things are going pretty well for me. I think I'd just like to keep it the way that it is, you know? You have the religious right or the rule followers that I don't drink and dance, and I don't want you to drink and dance either.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then you got the constitutional guys that really understand the Constitution. Mm-hmm. Okay. And those are the liberty crowd. Okay. Yeah. And those are the real conservatives, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people they don't really understand it. There's a lot of the country clubs. They were born on second base and thought they had a double. You know, mm-hmm. And I would put our mayor, our current mayor, in that category. He's a little Cassia Hall kid, okay? Went to Cassia Hall his whole life, okay? They told him he's special his whole life, and he's believed it, you know?
There are probably some, imagine, good people that went to Cassia Hall. Let's not disparage any schools or things like that. There you are. Thank you.
Well, remember, what did Zakarian put as his occupation on Facebook?
Waste management.
Waste management. So, you know, there's prejudice to go around every which way. Yeah. You know, we can all play that game, but how does that help us, you know?
Right.
Well, I'm disappointed that they did not have enough respect for the system. When I say they, I'm including the chief of police. They did not have enough respect for our system, that we're picking a jury, and you're going to go on KRMG and call our client the scum of the earth. Can you have enough respect for our system? Mm-hmm. The chief of police is going to get up and say, David Ware's an evil man, okay? Yeah. You know, well, there's plenty of evil to go around in this case, too.
Yeah.
And can you not have a little more respect for our system? Can you not show a little more leadership No wonder no wonder we have issues with this police department when your chief of police is calling a defendant evil and cannot respect our system and let it work, and that the mayor is calling him the scum of the earth.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be a little bit more mature about the situation. The prosecutor has a role to play. The judge has a role to play. I've got a role to play, and you guys are making everybody's role more difficult because you cannot control your tongue, and it's unfortunate.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's do this, okay? Because we're getting limited on time. You have another case,
yes,
that you're working on, which apparently, according to you, blows this one away.
It's shocking. It's shocking. Yeah.
Okay, so in this limited time, I mean, we've taken a lot of time. This actually, this David Ware case has really kind of blown my mind. I mean, because I was thinking one way, it's really caused me to rethink our justice system a lot. And you've done so much to do that, and it caused me to really, it's almost like a Grisham novel in real life, right? But this is the real thing. You are a real life Grisham. I mean, the defense attorneys in a Grisham novel is what you remind me of. But I do want to get into this case that you were telling us about in another county. So,
I represent a woman by the name of Stephanie Snow. She's been in jail for about 18 months, and we actually have a hearing on this next week, on the 18th. And she fell victim to an evil man, a man by the name of Rick Arnold. And there you can Google Stephanie Snow, and there's videos on the internet, and her family, luckily for her, has some resources. And when I say he's an evil man, that's not my characterization. That was his characterization. He drew a picture that said public enemy number one, evil ones, fight the good. Okay. He had all these demonic pictures, and all over his property, he had like cages and dungeons and structures that had no other apparent use but to hold somebody against their will. Mm-hmm. And you could tell that it wasn't for animals because he had like chairs in there and stuff, okay? And then he had, in one of these rooms, he had a sign that said F-U-C-K or death, okay? He was like a sexual sadist guy. The neighbors heard her scream for hours. They were used to hearing the screams of other women coming from that property. And she ended up killing him, and she called 911, and she sobbed on the phone for 15 minutes before she's able to tell him her name. She did manage to get out. He was going to kill me. Okay. And the Cherokee County Sheriff's Department showed up, and the only thing she had in her possession was a Bible with a bullet defect. And the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office showed up, and they arrested her for murder. And she got appointed a public defender, and the public defender did nothing except file a motion for a competency evaluation. And they sent her, and it broke her psychologically. And they sent her off. They never did a rape exam. They never did nothing. And I'll tell you the disturbing thing about this case is there were bags of women's clothing, different sizes, different styles, all over that place in this one trailer he had, okay? They never even took a cadaver dog over that place. And I'm going to tell you from what I know about sexual sadists and sexual predators and rapists and serial killers and stuff that I learned, no personal knowledge really, I mean just stuff I learned from being a lawyer, that guy was well down that path. And this wasn't the first time he did that. And, it's just very disturbing. The family was telling me about this. Our family was telling me about this. And I hear a lot of crazy stuff. So I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe. And so I go out to the property, and I was out there myself. I took pictures. I took video of myself. I saw this stuff firsthand, and it was just a really dark, kind of an evil feel to that property.
You said they sent her, to Veneta?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a psychiatric. psychiatric theory they're going on that this woman is mentally unstable.
Well, she was incompetent.
Okay.
She was incompetent to go forward because he broke her. Whatever happened to her there was just psychologically broke her. She just couldn't handle it. She's a mother of 4.
And she needs therapy. Obviously, anybody who goes through that kind of thing. And what kind of therapy is it to arrest a woman, book her on murder charges?
It's made it worse. I mean, I don't know that she'll ever be able to recover just from what they've done to her because she was in such a sad state. And now there's a lot of, I expect there's going to be quite a few women there. Victims groups have gotten involved. They've become aware of this case. And there's a lot of, there's one out of Washington State in particular, which I think they're going to help provide experts and stuff if we need it. I got a call from the former United States Attorney for the Eastern District and the former district attorney over there, which frankly I did not call back. I prefer not to work with former prosecutors. Okay. Especially after my last experience. But the point is he called up saying, I hear there's an injustice going on in Cherokee County.
Yeah.
Now I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect, I do know that there's a connection between the family and the sheriff's department there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The family that owns the property.
The family of the dead guy.
Right.
And the sheriff's department there. And it's just typical small town stuff.
Wow.
But it's just outrageous.
Wow.
And for once, I'm representing the good. Undisputable, I'm representing the good. Let me say, not for once I'm representing the good, but undisputable, I'm representing the good, and they're representing the evil. Yeah. I'm excited about it.
Man, like I said, we've got a couple of films that they could do with your stuff. You know, forget the guy from the attorney from the Eastern District. Just get Hollywood involved in this stuff. What's the movie, The Daughters of the August Moon? That film that they were doing here.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Scorsese film.
Yeah, is that the one?
They're getting ready
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Is that what it is?
Is it Killers of the Flower Moon?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Well, I know there's a moon in it. But
you talk about Grisham novels. One of my clients, legendary attorney John Tanner.
Yeah.
He says, I was a character in the only nonfiction that Grisham ever wrote. And it was called The Innocent Man. And it was about Ada, a case there. And evidently Grisham's got all kinds of lawsuits on that. So he says, I'm going to stick with fiction.
Well, I've got an Ada case. There's a 20-year-old Ada case that got reversed because McGirt is getting ready to go in federal court next month. And one of the issues in my case is that my client was down there and him and his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend got in a dispute and a physical altercation. She attacked him, and he has testified previously that she pulled a gun on him. And anyway, he ended up causing her death, whether self-defense or not self-defense, and he was afraid because she was sleeping with some of the local law enforcement down there, and this isn't disputed, maybe one of the assistant district attorneys, and he was afraid because of all the Ada stuff, all the John Grisham Innocent Man and how corrupt it was down there, so he basically buried her, and eventually took him and told him about it. But that's going to be one of the issues in the case, is because he was a young kid at that time and he feared what was going on because of the John, because of all that stuff. It was right after Ron Williamson was released and Dennis Fritz were released, and so that's interesting, the Ada reference. But yeah, John Tanner represented Williamson. He walked Williamson on a rape case out of Tulsa. Yeah. In fact, Williamson asked for Tanner. He asked for him.
Yeah, but John says I don't work for free. John's got a nice house. I do work on that
nice house.
And but yeah, lawyers got to get paid. Yeah. Right, and lawyers take losses too. This is not,
as the scripture says, a workman is worthy of his hire, right? So
sure.
Well, I would, You know, if I'm laying on my deathbed and I'm wishing I made a little bit more money in the Ware case, I missed it. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not a money guy, never been a money guy. What lawyers, I mean, I grew up poor. What lawyers have to do to make it through in this world is a lot less than what most people do. And so,
except pay student loan debt, right?
Well, yeah, I got a theory about that. I mean, the VA paid for my undergrad, but I'm still paying for law school.
Yeah.
But I'm dragging out as long as possible because it's just me on the loans. And if I die before I pay it off, I won. You know? That's the way I look at it. If I can die before I pay it off, I won.
But, you know, and I want to wrap up what I'm going to say. I think what you're saying today highlights a lot of need for statutory reforms on things, just like we said about, you know, malicious forethought kind of thing. We always think of first degree, and I'm just stunned that this is the heat of passion death, which was what the David Ware thing is being treated as a stalking, premeditated, planned out, you know, hours, days in advance. Mm-hmm. So there's that. And then the McGirt thing shows me what it's really highlighting is the inequities between state laws and federal laws. Mm-hmm. And so we've got a lot of things to clean up, and I hope the legislature is listening. You know, let's make next session about law enforcement reform.
I'm going to add one other thing, too, that's happened so much in our nation, and that is the role the media plays in so much of this, and that is the media attention given to these. I think David Ware was judged in the first few days of this case. Mm-hmm. I remember hearing about it, and the picture I had in my mind of this was totally different from anything I heard when I met you and what you told us. I pictured this thug riding down the street, baiting these cops on and waiting and trapping them and just shooting a couple of policemen. I mean, honestly, that's what I picture. It's like a movie scene, you know, and this is what we get in, and this is what you're hearing on our news channels. Okay. This is the picture that was given to us by the media, and I'm sure they got it from the police, and this is what they're, and of course, all of the media nowadays, they copy each other. What one says, the other says, you know, they all get, it's like, we really don't have an independent media any longer. And it's sad. It's sad that it formulates. Now, not to say that I don't believe David Ware necessarily was an innocent man, a totally innocent man. But at the same time, the way everything was portrayed is not as it really was. And that's the thing. We can't get a fair picture anymore. And that is so frustrating. Everything is, and we're going to get into this after you leave, Kevin. We've got some more things that we're going to discuss about the whole political issues and everything. But it's everything today in our nation seems to be so biased and so tainted. We can't seem to get anything, a pure picture any longer of what's really going on. So, but hey, listen, I want to thank you so much. Seriously, this has been great. We got to have you back again periodically, because I think it's rare that we find anybody that's willing to just stand up and say, hey, think of me what you will, but this is me, and this is the truth, and this is where it's at. Win, lose, like me, don't like me, this is what's going on. And I so sincerely appreciate that, and that's why we enjoy having you in here, because we need that. You need that. You need that. America needs that.
Yep.
America needs that. And so I thank you. And Dave, I know you thank.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm glad Dave got us to introduce you to our audience, and I sincerely appreciate it. And good luck with all of these cases coming up. I'm sure that you're a busy man.
Yeah, we'll want to check in with you.
Yeah, I got some cases going on outside of Tulsa County, which is good because the little Kevin goes a long way. And I gotta spread myself out a little bit, or I have a tendency to wear on people, you know. So,
who's the DA in that case out there with Snow?
It's Jack Thorpe.
It is Jack. I know Jack.
And I sent Jack an email a heads up before. I said, I like you, Jack. I always have.
He's a likable guy.
But you probably got to take a look at this one.
Yeah, sure. And Jack's had things like that happen in other counties where, the sheriff tells him a tale. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've got a child molestation thing in Wagner County that was just totally corrupt.
Yeah.
And, Jack has to look at what's presented to him by sheriffs, and it's tough because he's got to get along with law enforcement.
Yeah, it's a tough job, but he shouldn't be jacking around with justice.
He signed up for another run.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Anyway.
Hey, thanks so much. You take care, all right?
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay. That was something.
It was.
Like you said, the little Kevin goes a long way. No, that was really good. I really enjoy having Kevin come in because it's always enlightening. I think we have to really reconfigure our minds sometimes. We have these, all of us, we're, how do I want to put it, programmed.
Yeah.
We get programmed and we start thinking in certain ways, in certain patterns, and I'm guilty. You're good. We're all guilty of this. You're better, I think, than I am, really, that, the whole conservative movement, and so many of the things that happen around us. And, in fact, let me back up. I was very much into the liberal ideology as a young man.
Yeah.
And then I went very into the conservative thing. And I still am. I mean, I consider myself very conservative. But I think I'm so conservative that I make a lot of conservatives mad. It's interesting. Did you catch that, what he was saying about the conservatives falling into three groups?
Yeah.
That was pretty profound, I think.
it is.
I think it was very profound.
Yeah. I remember Ronald Reagan's inauguration in 81, and he's referred to the problems we're facing and the role of government. And he said, government is not the solution. Government is the problem.
Right.
And he said before that, 5 years earlier, he says, the heart and soul of conservatism is libertarianism. And I've thought about that more and more and more. And, the duty of a patriot is to protect the people from their government. That's Jefferson. We've got a government, and he deals with this all the time. He's the equalizer. Remember Rush Limbaugh said, I am equal time?
Yeah.
So you've got all these government agencies that are piling on in building this narrative. You saw it with the chief of police. You see it with the district attorney. You see it even with the judges. And I've heard LaFortune at times make statements in political circles that prejudice him in a case. This is a problem because you got all of this tax-funded, agencies and portions of government piling on the defendant, and then they're going to give him a $20,000 lawyer.
Yeah, I think that's a problem that we have in this town with the mayor, the judge, and others. I think they have gotten so powerful, they think they can do whatever they want. There's a ruling class in the city of Tulsa.
Yeah. And then you've got media that's a lapdog.
Yeah.
That just laps up whatever the government says.
And it bothers me that you have that. Mm-hmm. You have a business elite then you have a political elite, and these two seem to work hand in hand.
Yeah.
And it's like they've gotten to the point. It's the same as our federal. What we need here in Tulsa, honestly, is an Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Elon Musk is the greatest thing to happen since Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It's funny how Donald Trump came along and threw a grenade into the whole political system, right? And so they marshaled all of their troops to attack Trump. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes Elon Musk. And are you getting a distortion in my voice?
No.
Okay, it's the headphones. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm getting this distortion. It's good. It's the headphones. But so all of a sudden, as they're focused over here on Donald Trump, here comes Elon Musk and throws a grenade into the business.
Yeah. And a couple months before that, it was Joe Rogan.
Yeah, and you got Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
So we're getting these disruptors now coming into
Yes,
those.
and Bill Maher is even coming to the show.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Yeah. Bill Maher, Dave Chappelle. I mean, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it's things are starting, and I can see the Democrat. Oh, wait a minute. Let's go. Oh, wait a minute. No, we can't. Oh, what is it? It's like the picture of the little boy with his finger in the dike, and all of a sudden here's a leak here, and then a toe, and a toe, and next thing you know, the leaks. You can't contain the leaks anymore. CNN is now questioning Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Right? I almost forgot Biden's name. But anyway, CNN is starting to question, he's got CNN. Forget them. Nobody watches that anyway. But it's getting to the point where they're not going to be able to cover any longer.
Right.
They're not going to be able to cover
I
any
agree.
longer.
And this is the problem we're running into. I also want to bring you back to another thing about Ronald Reagan. He scared the daylights out of the establishment because he was an outsider. People talk like Ronald Reagan, everybody loved him. No, back in the 80s, remember Sam Donaldson? I mean, I thought Sam was as bad as it could get in the press conferences at the White House until, these idiots from CNN come around.
Yeah, but even then, Sam Donaldson was at least somewhat rational. In fact, have you seen the clip where Donaldson is talking about Biden, where Biden made the statement about how he graduated in top half of his class and and Sam Donaldson just rips him to shreds.
Oh yeah,
he wasn't in the top half of his class. He only had one degree. He Yeah. So back then, even they would call him out, and now everything when it's so. You know what it really is? I don't think a lot of it is maliciousness or where they're purely trying to carry the water for the party. I think they're just lazy. It's our national disease is laziness.
Yeah.
The people in the media are just lazy and want to be accepted and get paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, for example, that's why you've seen the clips where they show and everybody from different networks, independent networks, cable, network TV, they all say exactly the same thing.
Yep.
And it's because they're too lazy. Nobody wants to take the time. Well, I'll just grab and some producer hands them something.
Yeah. Well, they swallowed what's called the talking points.
Right, the talking.
And that happened during the Clinton administration. Started seeing that first, where they would release talking points, and all of the leftist media all said, okay, this is the word, this is the phrase they want us to use. And it was all orchestrated.
Right.
And it's still going on.
Right. But I think a lot of it is just they're lazy and it's simple to do.
It is.
And then you've got the right people in there that want to hear, here's what we're going to say. And I don't even think they realize that this is what everybody else is saying. This is how foolish we look because everybody else is saying exactly. I mean, can you imagine you see yourself and you're saying the same thing that everybody else is saying?
And Fox News would always show the montage of like 80 times the same phrase is used within 4 hours on all the different networks.
Exactly. It's just crazy. Hey, by the way, everybody, can you see this?
Yeah.
This is Dave's handiwork.
Yeah.
This is, look at that, fresh black coffee.
Yeah.
He's got the t-shirt. Yeah. He didn't get me one, of course. He's got to be the guy that does it all, right? So,
I paid for it.
Yeah.
I paid for that.
And I'm going to sue you because infringement on copyright. I copyrighted that.
Talk to Podbean about it because it's their logo. I admit it. I stole it from Podbean, but it's because you liked it.
Well, I'm the one who picked it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He is paying for Podbean.
Well, there you go. Thank you. So anyway, no, it's beautiful. It's nice. It's nice. It's a good look. So, you'll be seeing more of it, obviously. I hope to have my own t-shirts. So.
I'll be honest with you. It's because this, what do you call it? Auto exposure with a white background said something's got to be black here, and they made Eddie look as black as, and you couldn't see him.
Something's got to be black. You know,
yeah, so the wall's black, now Eddie's got color.
I'm not black enough. I'm not. Oh, it reminds me. Did I ever tell you the story? I got stopped by the police in Arlington, Texas.
No, I hadn't heard that.
Okay. How much time do we have? No. No. We were having a fraternity thing in Arlington at TCU. It was a TCU, right?
TCU
University, Texas Christian, right? Yeah. Which is in Fort Worth, but we were staying in Arlington with some friends, me and two of my fraternity brothers. And these other fraternity brothers of mine were Texas Tech basketball players. One was 6'10", and one was 6'9". So I'm the runt of the litter. So we're in this car and we're trying to find my friend's place. And so it was raining and we're out, trying to find these apartments, and I'm thinking, well, it's somewhere around here. And so we're driving around in the rain and I get out of the car and all of a sudden next thing, whoop, whoop, here's the police. All right, boys, get out of the car up against the wire, man. I'm scared to death,
Wow.
And, they've got us up against the car, frisking us. And I had these blue jeans on, and Billy Paul, do you know who that is? He was a singer. He did the song Me and Mrs. Jones.
Oh, sure.
Me and Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Jones. But he also had a song. In fact, I think the name of the album was Am I Black Enough for You?
Oh.
Yeah. And so with that, they sent out these patches that you could sew. So I sewed one at the bottom of these bell bottoms I had on.
Oh, so this is 70s.
Oh, yeah. This was like 1972.
The bell bottom.
So anyway, I had this patch, Am I Black Enough for You? Sewed at the bottom of my blue jeans. And so the cop is frisking me. And when he gets to the bottom, he looks at it and says, Am I black enough for black? Yeah, boy, you black enough for me. Yeah. And so I'm scared to okay, don't shoot me. And so here's the funny thing about this. He was so thrown back by my patch that he never looked he put his hand in my left. I had a windbreaker on.
Oh, yeah.
And my pants and everything. He felt all the pockets, but he went down my leg and never put his hand in my right windbreaker packet because I totally threw him off with that patch. I had marijuana joint in my...
Oh.
Exactly. In 1972. Yes.
Eddie.
There would be no fresh black coffee today so anyway, we live to tell about that story.
Yeah.
But it's funny, what reminded me of it, am I black enough for you? I wanted to say, Dave, am I not black enough for you? You said, because you said we had to get something black in here.
Something blacker than Eddie.
Oh, man.
Yes.
I am sorely
colorful.
I am sorely offended.
Yeah.
I'm not black enough for you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, you were complaining about being in this dark black corner.
I know.
Yeah.
No, but it does. You were saying the white was not getting enough contrast to show up properly.
Yeah.
So this helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this will make it.
So, I had the cops over to the house yesterday morning.
Speaking of police.
Yeah, about 3 a.m.
3 a.m.
And, is interesting. Well, there was somebody right behind my back picket fence at 3 a.m. He's wrestling. My wife's freaking out. We're looking downstairs from our upstairs bedroom window, and I called, and sure enough, it was somebody. Either he is mentally deranged or on drugs or something. But police just, tell him, hey, you're disturbing people, and he claimed to be doing yard work at 3 a.m. at a Jewish synagogue. Because that's what's behind my house is Hasidic Jewish synagogue. And so we get to talking afterwards, and the cops, when they realized, the training that I do for the cops and stuff, they kind of opened up. And I said, do you think, this fella's dealing with mental instability, or is it drugs? And they said, the drug overdoses are really on the rise in Tulsa. And he said, we both just came from 31st and Sheridan, where there's a man on PCP buck naked in the middle of the intersection, and he had just trashed the Quick Trip there.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And these cops are coming and telling me about it and stuff, and they started talking. But I said, I actually have been advocating on 788 because of the veterans that were on all these benzos that they were addicted to from the VA. And these cops said, yeah, you're right. We are not dealing with a public safety problem because of the marijuana. And then I said, unless you're behind one who's driving too slow, AKA up in smoke, Cheech and Chong, think they're going too fast, they're parked on the boulevard, But anyway, evidently, Eddie, we are dealing with right now a real rise in drug problems.
Well, Dave, wasn't it foreseeable? I mean, seriously. See, Colorado, it was proven, it's been shown in California, Colorado, everywhere where marijuana has been legalized, they have they've shown it. If you will look, and if anybody wants to look at the actual records, the incidence of drug increase in drug usage, increase in crime, everything, it's there. And it's all, marijuana used to be called a gateway drug. Yeah. And it truly is. Now, here's the deal. See, I am not against medical marijuana. Mm-hmm. I may act that way or talk that way because I like to mess with you. Mm-hmm. But so
it's sport for him.
It is sport. I get bored easily. No, but seriously, I think, yes, I can understand that marijuana can be used. In fact, I just spoke to a friend in Texas who had back issues, and it helps with the pain.
Yeah, it's helped people get off opioids.
Right. But here's the problem. As soon as we took it out of the medical category and legalized recreational, to where basically every Tom, Dick, and Dane could have 12 plants in their house, right? And all you need is a prescription from anybody, basically, you want to prescribe it. That's when it crossed the line. And so if we had left it to where you have to actually go to a doctor and have a doctor actually prescribe it for a legitimate need, then I could say, yes, I agree. I'm with you let's do that. Let's go ahead and make it a true medical marijuana for a medical need, whether it's PTSD, whether it's these pains, that pain, this issue, that issue. But what we've basically done is just, and I don't care what people say, the bottom line is the main reason we have legalized marijuana is because of those who want to make money off marijuana and those who want to have easy access to marijuana.
Let's talk about this. Chip Paul, who's the author of 788, or principal author, called me up a couple weeks ago. He wants to come on the show. And the reason why is there are 3 state questions that are now circulating signatures. And the first one's 820. He said, it's bad, you don't want it, it's funded out of Berkeley, it's going to go for a California-style recreational legalism.
So this is going to take our own current and make it even more liberal.
That's 820, state question 820. Now, Chip said, I am the author of 821. And he said, it's a do-over of 788. Where it's going to fix a lot of things we left out foolishly. We trusted the legislature, and he said, so it's just going to streamline a whole bunch of things. And then,
like what? Like what? How is it going to fix?
For instance, he threw it into the State Board of Health. And he said it was probably the worst agency to put it in. One. He said, I wrote that...
Wait. So what's it going to put it under then?
Similar to ABLE, which is our liquor people, or a standalone agency where the legislature can go directly to that agency and deal with, instead of getting permission from the health department to go talk to the OMMA, which is a sub-agency right now. But the taxing... He said the people voted on, they want a 7% tax. But then the tax commission says, we're going to call that tax, because they didn't say excise tax, they just said tax. We all thought sales tax, right? State sales tax. They said, now, since it's subject to an excise tax, it's also subject to sales tax, and cities and counties can also tax it. So now we've got about a 17% tax on something that the people said, no, we said 7, not 17. So we're going to fix that. Now, Chip says, hey, look, I'm not a professional at writing this stuff. So there's that. So there's a bunch of things. And then Chip said, I wrote a separate 822. And 822 is, I kept it separate from 821, is, do you want casual use that's not medical? He said, now that will be taxed. And he said, we're going to treat it much like we would liquor. So we got those 3 things coming up. Chip Paul, we'll see. I told him we're really busy right now with our, the primaries, but maybe end of June into July we might see about him coming.
Well, how about just state question, can we get rid of casual use?
Exactly. Yeah.
We don't have that question. Yeah.
Well, the legislature, in their wisdom, and I appreciate and respect they said back in 2018, 2019, he said, the people have spoken, and we're going to respect the vote of the people. Now, also rejecting these is the people speaking, and that will encourage the legislature to do whatever they perceive is what the people want.
Yeah, here's the problem, though, okay? What the people voted on was what they thought was a medical marijuana bill. That's how it was presented, not a casual use.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were duped. Okay, they were duped. Now the problem is the state, the people in the state government have gotten used to the money. Can you imagine if we pull the revenue out that has been brought in by the marijuana?
And that's what the police told me yesterday morning on my front deck. They said, man, we really appreciate, what is it, about $100 million a year in taxes?
Right.
Come in?
And here's the problem with that. that 100 million, which was seen a boon, and we appreciate it, will soon, if not already, is seen as the norm. Mm-hmm. And then we got to look for the next, because as with everything, mm-hmm. as we said, when you raise the minimum wage to 15%, everything goes up to 15%.
$15 an hour.
I mean, thank you. $15 an hour. So inflation kicks in.
Sure.
So all of a sudden now, oh, wait a minute, $15 an hour is not enough. Now we got to go to 20, 25. Now we're not satisfied with 15 anymore. Whereas before with $7.50 an hour, people were making it. Now we got to have 15. Also, now we're not making it. It's just, listen, it's human nature.
Yeah.
What's the old saying? How much is enough? Just a little bit more.
Yeah, that's the liberal mantra.
A little bit more, right? Yeah. And that's how much. And so that's the problem with the marijuana laws, that we will never get enough. Mm-hmm. And everywhere that marijuana has been legalized, we're seeing the ramifications of what's happening. Texas has not yet gone that route. Florida, I don't believe, has gone that route. The states that have not chosen.
Oh, yeah, Florida did.
Florida has.
Before, it has medical marijuana, yeah.
Okay, I'd like to see what their law is. In other words, whether it's still a true medical marijuana or if it's a.
Well, Oklahoma is the most libertarian version.
Thank you. So, but what I'm saying is, every state that has a liberal medical marijuana law, you're going to see issues. You're just going to see the issues, and
there's a lot you didn't see, Eddie.
Like what?
You didn't see the public safety, like more car accidents. You didn't see. Nobody has yet died from a medical overdose of marijuana in the world.
Oh no. I never said we would.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's ever said you're going to see an overdose of marijuana.
There's the reefer madness mantra that has been widely debunked that really had a lot of people believing that. You're going to die from marijuana.
Not since 1969 or 70.
Yeah, there's still people.
I don't know.
A lot of gray hairs, Eddie.
I don't think anybody.
Yeah. No, that's not to say. I have to say it's Eddie. It's not to say it's not dangerous. And one old guy said, "Well, okay, if they take it in pill form, that's fine. I don't want to see anybody smoking a reefer." The reefer's the safest version.
I'm removing the physical ramifications of marijuana from the social ramifications, okay?
Yeah.
What it does to the economics, in other words, people spending their money to buy their weed versus spending their money to buy food, to pay bills, et cetera, et cetera. Do you know, I have friends who own pot stores.
Dispensaries.
Yeah, it's a nice way to put it, dispensary. Mm-hmm. But anyway.
Mom and pop shops, that's what they are.
Mom and pop shops, yeah. And they're all getting out of the business now. They were doing great in 20 and 21. Do you know why? Because of the stimulus money.
Oh, okay.
When the stimulus money was coming, there was a place in Claremore doing $20,000 a month.
Oh yeah, that's.
I'm sorry. Let me take that. $20,000 a day. A day. The other one in rural were doing $20,000 a month. $20,000 a day. They were doing, because the people were getting their stimulus money, instead of using it to pay off debt, to look ahead, to save, to do whatever they needed to do, they were buying their pot.
Well, how many people go to the liquor store on payday? How many people go to the casino on payday? Let's be consistent, Eddie.
Maybe. But nevertheless, we've now given them an extra place to spend that money. And we don't know. We don't know what they would have done with a liquor store. Because I guarantee you there are a lot of people who weren't drinking that are using pot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take you up on that one and say we would have a lot less people having spent their money on pot.
That's about the most anti-liberty position I can think of. It is a fundamentalist view of, well, let's just make everything illegal that we think is a potential for you to abuse.
I'm sorry. I'm just telling you. If marijuana is a detriment to society, then let's not make it legal.
Well, let's make it illegal for kids to twirl around and get dizzy on the playground, because it's a bad use of their resources, and they could hit a tree.
No, okay. If you want to go that way, okay. If you want to here's my biggest argument. Okay, what does the Bible say? Be not drunk with wine,
wherein is excess.
Right. Now, can you tell me if you can smoke dope without getting high?
Sure.
No.
Yeah, you can.
No. Do you smoke dope?
No.
Have you smoked dope?
I've been a teetotaler since 1979.
Okay. So then you can't speak professionally on this, okay? You can't speak from experience. I can. Okay. You cannot smoke marijuana and not get high.
Well, it's like saying you cannot drink beer and not get drunk.
No, you can.
Well, of course you can.
Drink alcohol.
It has to do with the volume, Eddie.
No one is going to smoke like, oh, let me have one hit. I mean, why? You can socially drink. You can have a beer because you're thirsty and be fine.
Yeah.
But you cannot take a hit of marijuana or 2 drags of marijuana and not get high, especially when they tell you that the marijuana today is 5 to 10 times more potent than it was.
Well, that's the Lay's potato chip argument of you can't just eat one.
No, wait. No, I'm not talking about. I'm just saying that there's no one that I know, maybe you know somebody that smokes marijuana just to take a half a hit or just to smell the aroma.
Okay, I've gone to some national conferences on this. In fact,
this is what we do. This is when it really gets good.
Lori at Brain Institute put on a great one here about 3 years ago.
Right.
And they just talked about the different ways of administering cannabis medicine for different types of ailments.
Right.
And your good friend Pat Campbell talked about his own mother, who took a CBD oil that had a 1-to-1 THC in an oil form, and she never got a buzz, but she did get 6 hours of sleep. And this got her off of opioids.
That was a medicine. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Okay, if it's a medicine and it's prescribed as a medicine, that's what I'm saying is
it's
okay.
It's still a CBD and THC at the heart of it, whether you
I don't care.
Inhale it or swallow it.
But it's prescribed as a medicine.
Sure.
That's what we're arguing about. Yeah. I'm telling you, the problem in Oklahoma is there's a recreational drug being sold in stores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a substance that every doctor I've talked to said, yes, it's less dangerous than liquor or tobacco.
It gets you high, Dave.
Yeah.
It gets you high.
Mm-hmm. So liquor does.
Yeah, be not drunk with wine or marijuana,
right,
or opium or heroin or cocaine, or
Eddie. I used
fentanyl.
to believe that if my convictions, and I told you I'm a teetotaler, haven't touched any of these substances since '79. I used to believe if they're good enough for me.
You know what you sound like? The person that says, "Listen, I won't get an abortion, but it's okay for others who will."
Eddie,
no, that's what you sound like.
Eddie,
that's just exactly what you sound like.
Okay. But with abortion, you're actually murdering somebody, a human being. Okay, let me finish.
With marijuana, you're actually getting high.
Okay. And so's the kid who's twirling on the playground.
No, they're not.
They're getting a buzz. They're dizzy. They're stumbling over.
Oh, my goodness.
And the effect on their body is just the same as being drunk. Doesn't last as long. But, Eddie, at what point are you going to, micromanage?
You're equating a kid who's twirling around on the playground who gets dizzy for 10 seconds with a person that's going to get a 2-hour high. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
That's all. That ends this conversation.
I used to believe, Eddie, that if my convictions are good enough for me, they're good enough for you too.
All right. I rest my case with this. look at the states where marijuana is not legal and the states where marijuana is legal, and I promise you that the social ills, the social state, the crime, you're the one who brought it up about how crime is rampant in Oklahoma lately.
No, I said the drug overdoses.
Or drug overdoses, okay, whatever. That's a part of it. In crime, period. I guarantee you that if you look at the crime statistics, they're much higher in the states where marijuana has been legalized and where it's not. As well as homelessness, the guys you see on the streets, naked guys standing on the corner running around, all of that. It's going to be higher in the places where marijuana has been legalized and where it has not.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah. And the smoking, by the way, is much safer than the edibles. I know a young man, friend of my son, blew his brains out because he took 5 times on his first use of anything cannabis. He took 5 times the amount recommended, maximum. He got a psychotic paranoia, and he was carrying a handgun, and he blew his brains out. Well, it's dangerous. It really is.
Right.
You know, I'm making your argument for you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've rested my case. Thank you for making an additional argument.
Right.
I'm going to move on to something else.
Let's go, Eddie.
Okay. The SCOTUS leak. I was gone. Oh, by the way, I was gone last week. For those of you that probably noticed, so some of you probably didn't care.
Too cheap. He flew standby, and we got canceled.
Yeah. Well, hey, I I ended up buying a ticket, but still, I got a nice cheap ticket. But for those of you that don't know, I have a son, one of my 3 sons, my 3 sons. Yeah. For those, one of my sons is vice president of operations for the Florida Panthers NHL team, hockey team. And they won the President's Cup, by the way, which is the team, that highest scoring team and the number 1 team in the NHL during the regular season. Yeah. Of course, that means it's so funny how in the NBA and everything, it doesn't matter who the best team is, who wins everything. It's the playoffs is really all that counts. Isn't that funny? You know, you can be the last place team and still win and you're the champion. So, but anyway, the first round of the playoffs began last week, and best 4 out of 7, which they won the first round last night, game 6. They beat the Washington Capitals. They're called the comeback cats or the cardiac cats, because, man, there was some.
Yeah, hockey's a great sport.
There were some anxious moments. They've come back. They set a record too for the most comebacks. 3-0. They were down 3 goals. They were down 3 goals more times than anybody else, and came back and won the game after being down 3 goals. But anyway, so I got to see my first professional hockey game. Well, any hockey games really, but the NHL games there in Fort Lauderdale is where he lives and where they play, and it was very interesting. I have to say, I've never seen anything like it. I've never been to a pro hockey or, again, any hockey game, but man, I'll tell you what, I don't think that I've ever been to anything as exciting as a hockey game. I mean, those crowds, really 18,000 people, giant arena, and those people, I mean, they're in it.
In what was it, about 79 or so, my Minnesota North Stars got sold and moved to Dallas. And they just called it, the word North out, now they're just Stars. And I thought, how do you have a hockey team in the South? Because I think the furthest south the hockey team was the St. Louis Blues at that time. Yeah.
And now they're in Tampa Bay and in
Fort Lauderdale.
Next thing you know, they'll be in Miami or in the Keys.
The Brazilian national hockey team.
No, but it was good. But anyway, so that's where I was last week, just for those of you that don't know. So. But it was exciting, and they're still in it. So let's hope. I mean, it would be so exciting if the Panthers won the Stanley Cup. That would be something. For my son, I would be very proud. You know, he was a football guy all along. He's been at Georgia Tech, at Kansas, University of Kansas. Then he worked for Delta, handling all the flights for. The Buffalo Bills, Philadelphia Eagles, and then he did the Boston Celtics, and he's done football and then some basketball stuff on that. But now he's been with the Panthers for all season since last August or September, but it's a whole new world.
Yeah.
But it's exciting. It was fun. So, all right. So, SCOTUS.
Yeah.
Somebody leaked. This gets back again to the morals of our nation, and that people don't care. It takes me back to, we've talked about this before, haven't we? The fact of situational ethics.
Ends justifies the means.
Ends justify the means. That what they feel that their ends are so important that whatever they do, it's okay.
Yeah.
In the end, but the real end is that it's going to destroy anything that they would otherwise, because it always comes back and bites you, right?
Oh,
because in the end, then they'll scream. See, they would want to. In fact, it's funny because they want to be and take the moral high ground on January 6th, right?
Right.
And deny legal protections to the people who went into the Capitol, but they want to give protections where there are none,
right,
to the protesters in front of the justices' homes.
Because the leak was bad enough,
right?
And much worse than the leak is the jury tampering going on right now. Open, defiant, and our Justice Department,
and it's clear in the law. It's clear.
Yeah. And our Attorney General, who, my God, he almost made it on the Supreme Court himself.
It's ridiculous.
He's refusing to prosecute. The FBI is just pretending nothing's happening.
He looks like he's retarded. If you've ever seen him when they're questioning, he's just kind of...
Yeah. Yeah, I posted it up, and God turned them over to a reprobate mind. Romans 1, read it. It's a good chapter. It's
unbelievable. I mean, it's he who rules sets the rules, is what they, and, I mean, the only hope we have is November.
Yeah.
In January. Yeah. Come January, we need to take the House and the Senate and have hearings and then use them.
Yeah.
I mean, come in, boom.
Yeah. Now, I want to say this. What happened in, what was the young man's name in Wisconsin, shooting
I know who
Kyle Rittenhouse?
Yeah, Kyle.
Okay. That MSNBC followed a little too close to the caravan as the jury was going off for their sequestering. And how big of an issue that was. And the court cracked down on that really big. Because while they're in deliberations, you back off. These are not lawmakers. I support the right to petition your government for redress of grievance, to show up at the Capitol, to protest in that. But what goes on in court deliberations must be respected. Right. Everybody's had their argument. We follow it. This is not going to be mob rule and mob decision making. But that's exactly what's going on right now in our government. Our federal agencies care nothing that it's happening because you might as well say they're colluders now in it.
Yeah, I mean, we cannot allow this.
Yeah.
It can't be allowed.
Yeah.
I mean, how much more strongly can I word that?
Yeah.
It cannot be allowed, yet it is being allowed. And Schumer and what's that ridiculous lady's name?
Pelosi.
The pale-skinned redhead that speaks for the president.
Oh, Psaki. She just quit yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, she is a joke. You talk about the Wicked Witch of the West. Mm-hmm. I mean, unbelievable.
Yes.
And the new one is just a black airhead. I mean, it's like this.
Now, why do you have to bring color into this, Eddie?
Because she's black.
Okay.
Because you didn't. Yeah, I wasn't black enough for you.
Yeah, what was that term you used a few months ago? And about who's now in charge? I said, "Are there Karens?" I said, "No, there's Keishas and Tamikas." I forget the term you were using when you were describing the empowered black woman.
Yeah, what is this girl's name? I forget her name.
Oh, something Pierre, a French name.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then she's got nerve enough to...
You're off, I can't.
I'm sorry. I'm sitting there juggling. And then she has nerve enough to have a French name. Yeah. She has a French... She looks like a doll. She looks... Have you noticed that?
She looks like she's 12.
Yeah, she looks like she's a miniature little a doll or something that you would sit on a bed, you know, like... You know,
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know why she's the darling. Really, why she's the darling? Because she's not only black, but she's a lesbian, and she and her partner has been a CNN darling announcer. So it's this incestuous pool it's an incestuous cesspool of people that they have.
Peter Ducey posed for a picture with Jen Psaki. And yeah, I always knew Peter Ducey was tall. That's part of what makes you good in the mob reporting, you know, out on the campaign trail. Yeah. But Psaki has to be a little girl. Peter Ducey was like 2 feet taller than her. She came up to about here to Peter.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, no,
I'm sorry.
No.
Getting off in the weeds. But so we get the SCOTUS ruling.
Yeah, so
non-ruling.
It's just a shame that what they're doing, and I can only hope and pray that SCOTUS has the scrotum to
the gonads.
Yes, SCOTUS with the scrotus to be able to stand up against this stuff. Otherwise, our nation is in trouble.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's an aide, you know, or one of the what do they call them?
Clerks.
The clerks for, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not one of the female liberal justices themselves that did this. Let's move along to the PA race. The Senate race in Pennsylvania.
Why in the world is that such a big thing? But I guess because the primaries this Tuesday.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why it's a big thing. Donald Trump.
He endorsed. He's done. He's 55-1 now. He's endorsed in 56, 55 of them won. Nebraska was his first loss.
It's actually 53-1.
Oh.
Yeah, it was 53.
Okay.
But, I mean.
Okay.
Who's counting, right?
Right. Yeah.
No, seriously, it's so funny because, okay, he's endorsed 53 people. One loses, and what's the headline?
Oh.
Trump endorsement loses. I mean, it's like, come on, you know.
Yeah, I read some of those stories, and nowhere in those stories did they say, now, this is his first out of 50-some races where he's endorsed. They wouldn't say that. It was The Hill. I was reading it on The Hill, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, no one ever has gotten so much under the skin of the media. And this was on Fox even. This was on Fox where even Newsmax, and Newsmax is even getting.
If you don't think Trump can negotiate a good deal on property, why is he living rent free in so many liberal media heads?
Oh man. Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, I did want to discuss this. There's this lady, a black lady, that's come out of nowhere.
Kathy Barnett.
Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden she's become the darling of everyone. There's two things I want to point out about Kathy Barnett. Part of it is, like in Oklahoma and so many places, dark money has popped up. No, that's all. Everything now is going to sound weird. Dark money for the black candidate. No, okay.
I laughed. It's my fault.
I know. No, it was good, though. That was good. Yeah. No, we couldn't have planned that better if we had tried. No, but okay, so, and Club for Growth, not so dark money.
Yeah.
Okay. Club for Growth. People need to know about Club for Growth. What's the brothers?
The Koch brothers?
The Koch brothers,
yeah. I think they're charter members, right? One of them's dead now.
Yeah, one of them died, and we used to think of them as being good, solid, conservative
we did.
people. And then all of a sudden we realized that they're not. The Koch brothers were just into the Koch brothers and promoting their stuff.
I think immigration policy is what really set them off of like Trump's wall.
Well, yeah, that and the fact that their whole deal is they're into gas and oil. That was their big thing.
Yeah.
And they make money on importation of gas.
Oh, yeah, the tariffs was the other big thing.
Right, and so they were fighting because they make money as they bring oil into the country, and with Trump wanting to refine the oil or pump more oil and get more oil out of the ground in America, it was hurting their business. So all of a sudden, this is one of the reasons that most of you don't know that they are against Trump, anti-Trump, and they're anti-Trump candidates.
They will claim to be free trade people. And Trump is saying, no, free trade isn't always fair trade, especially when we're having to pay huge tariffs to compete in one market, but yet we're giving them, like, no, this doesn't happen. That's why he undid the NAFTA and rewrote it. And I mean, I've never seen a guy so dominate a trade, the international trade deal like he did with the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. And
the Pacific one, too.
Yeah.
The Pacific trade agreement. Yeah, I mean, the guy that's his deal, though. That is really what he is the best at. He knows how to negotiate, and you never know. He had Putin worried. Putin doesn't know, as Dave Chappelle would say, is this nigga crazy?
Add that to the list of statements I can't say, but you can.
Or not even in question form. Dave Chappelle, this nigga's crazy. About Trump. But, no, seriously though, that was the thing that made Trump so different. And the thing about what's going on in PA, that they don't want Oz to become the new senator from that state. And this Kathy Barnett shows up, and all of a sudden, though, now the real Kathy Barnett is showing it. Nobody knew anything about this lady. All of a sudden, she's this attractive black female who sounds good. She looks good. Everything seems good. She talks good. Talks a good game. Her bio looks good until people started digging into it. And now, I just saw this morning on the wire on Newsmax that all of a sudden she's dropped surreptitious. Forget it, I'm not going to try to say
a lot.
I'm talking too fast. Let me slow down. Surreptitiously. Yeah. She's dropped a lot, like you said. Just because it's coming out. For one of her things is she thought George Washington should not be honored as the father of our country. That's one of the things. And she wanted to build a statue of Barack Obama. Okay. Now, right there, that should be enough right there to end it all. Okay. Yeah. But on top of that, there's some real questions about her. She touted this military service, although we can find no record of this military service and several
I want
other
to say, I thought I'm really impressed with how Trump has shown himself to be very diplomatic, because he wrote some very nice things about Kathy. But I think what I get from what Trump's statement is, I would agree with that, given time, she's going to be a very, very good leader in the conservative movement. But I think she's still forming who she is and what she stands for.
Well, yeah, and the problem though is what he said is that she would get killed in the statewide once she goes up
in
against
the general election,
the Democrat. But see now, by going too fast against the wrong person, I believe she's killed any future hope. I think she's done. Stick a fork in her. She's done.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, I do. Because those same things that have come out now that she's tried to hide will haunt her down the road.
Yeah.
Had she not been so rushed and allowed someone to try, I called her the Manchurian candidate. Had she not been in such a hurry to try to allow somebody to push her to, what she should have done is try to make the congressional run again.
Mm-hmm.
This time with better backing, better support, and then from there prove herself there, then jump into the congressional race, into the senatorial race, and then go further.
Yeah.
But now she's really killed herself. And the other thing she's going to have to do, she's going to have to pick herself up. This will show the real character in her. Was she able to be not bitter after this? Because she will feel that she's been set upon and betrayed and attacked by the Republican Party. And this will show if she's really a Republican, really a conservative, and really a team player, or is she going to be bitter and turn now on her and become a Democrat or something like that?
Well, and I just say, I've watched Trump has had a lot of turnover in those 4 years in his administration. He's had to make a lot of firings. Recently, it's come out about how nasty things got between him and Steve Bannon.
Well, Bannon has been a big supporter of Barnett, by the way.
Right. Omarosa, one of his,
Yeah, he never should have.
Of course not. But you know what? He mitigates the fallout by graciously having a party, and he keeps them on his team to some degree. Now, it didn't happen with Scaramucci, but I think he's a cocaine addict, Omarosa's, she still went her way, and I think they are done. But I've seen so many people, and that's why I watch carefully the statement he made publicly about Kathy Barnett, is why make an enemy when you can keep an ally?
That's true.
And I think that it really shows me some tempering of Donald Trump's ability to be a natural
leader.
True.
He didn't attack her character or anything. All he said was that he didn't think she was ready and could stand against the onslaught come the statewide, right?
Yeah. Oh, I got to say something for especially our Oklahoma audience.
Yeah.
Oklahoma is one of 10 states that in the primaries, the party primaries, the state pays for a runoff. It's only 8 states that really have that. The rest of them, basically a plurality. If there's 10 people in the race and you got 15%, you probably won. I mean, it's that. And so whoever wins on Tuesday is likely not going to have more than 25%. Same thing with, J.D. Vance. He won with 32%. So I just want to let people understand this. In Oklahoma, like we had Nathan Dahm here a couple weeks ago, his strategy, I'm sure, is get in that runoff. Top two. Get in that runoff. Now, in Georgia, that's another thing coming up and for governor. And Kemp is way in the lead, but he's got to get a full plurality, majority.
50 plus 1, right?
Right. And so people are saying with all that delusion of support for all the other candidates, it's likely that, was it Dupree? No, I forget the guy's name. It's running, former congressman.
Yeah.
But in the runoff, he's likely to beat Kemp. So this is just some strategy. I want people to understand the uniqueness here in Oklahoma that we actually have a runoff.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, there's a lot more. The baby formula, Elon Musk, Ukraine still going on. But it's been 2 hours. I think we probably should wrap it up. Elon Musk, he's not backing down. He's waiting to find out if these are actual members or
negotiating
bots,
for a better
fake
deal.
accounts. Yeah, negotiating. He's smart. He's very smart. Yeah. Ukraine's still going on. Have a lot of thoughts on that. Baby formula.
You got to say something there.
Yeah.
Are you going to apologize online now to everybody?
No, I'm not apologizing. I think I'm right. But
yeah, that's right. You covered what you said.
We talked about that in the beginning, but I do want to say we found out that pallets and pallets of it have been shipped to the borders for illegal immigrants or migrants that have come into the country. We found out now. And our mothers and babies are having to suffer and either pay exorbitant prices or not get formula while it's sitting there at the border for these migrants to come in.
Mm-hmm.
This government, this administration, I don't know how they can do this without congressional oversight or some kind of oversight, but they truly are just running roughshod over the American people.
Yeah, and Eddie, I got to say something. On behalf of the good couple that adopted a baby to save that baby from an abortion, paid for the birth and everything, but now have that newborn baby, they can't breastfeed. So there are situations here where we need to have something for the baby that besides breastfeeding.
Are you attacking me?
I'm arguing for that one person who has a good response to your criticism.
Oh, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I never attacked anybody for not being able to breastfeed. I'm just saying there are women who...
right. Yeah, the vast majority of them... is it just convenience that they chose?
I think a lot. Not, I don't even know if it's the majority, but there are a lot of women who just would rather grab a bottle. Well, and I'll tell you, a big part of it too is working women. They don't want a nurse at work, or if you're on a
they're having to pump. Express.
Well, yeah, and or even if you take your baby to work, you're not going to sit there and Leakage is another deal.
That's a problem too. Yeah.
There are all kinds of little issues that are involved. So I understand, but I think the healthiest thing, I have 4 children. Mm-hmm. Not one ever was on a bottle. Yeah. And not one ever ate 1 teaspoon of baby food.
Yeah, and
we went straight from, we had a food grinder. Did you guys do the food grinder?
Yeah. All of our kids, except my last one, unfortunately, Mom had to be on medications that were contraindicated for a baby. Mm-hmm. And so you got situations.
Yeah, you have. Oh, obviously. There's always. It's just same with the marijuana discussion or whatever drug. There are always exceptions. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to give people an easy way out, is all I'm saying. I do not want, it's too easy. Once you start making it easy, people will always try to take the easy way. It's just human nature. Yeah. Human nature. Yeah. Hey, everybody, guess what? Guess what? I think we probably had better hit
can I say, please share this. You've got friends who could appreciate this show. Share it. We need some help getting this distributed.
Yeah. Thank you all so much. We'll look forward to next week. We hope to have Senator Freudian slip, Congressman Markwayne Mullin, and then T.W. Shannon in the future. Maybe a few other special guests.
Governor Stitt.
That would be nice. Yeah. Hey, God bless everybody. Have a great week. I think it was a good show.
All right.
Take care.
Yep.